the biggest obstacle that I had, and I believe it's the biggest obstacle most people have, is that I had to overcome my own expectations. I think I mentioned earlier that all I knew about the fruition, the results of meditation, was what I learned from books, what I read in books, what I heard from legitimate teachers giving teachings on meditation, or from instructors, or from my friends, my Dharma friends, where we all were doing the same thing. We all were learning to meditate. So I was constantly comparing when I would sit and actually try to concentrate, or whatever, which we could go into another point. I was comparing it against what it was that I thought I was supposed to be experiencing. What should be the result of this? And so I was kind of saying, no, that's not it. That's not it, because here I am just squirming around. I can't wait, it's some time for lunch. I can't wait for lunch. I can't wait for this to be done. So I did my duty. I didn't want to give it up because I knew there was something good in there, like I mentioned earlier. I thought I had a really good idea of what it was about because I'd read all about this and people told me, and it's going to be enlightening, right? I'm going to get enlightened. I'm going to realize something. But the trouble was I wasn't realizing anything much. I'm not saying it wasn't good or wasn't all good preparation of one kind or another. And we could have a huge sidebar on different kinds of practices. But the simple truth is that I had set up my own standard, what I was supposed to be achieving, when it wasn't a real standard. It was just stupid. And so when you say, how do I transition to meditating? It's a long story. I've written 2 books about it. So it would be hard to put it into words that simply. But what happened is that at one point I had some really powerful experience in my life. I lost my job. I had a job and suddenly I had 0 income. And I was, I think, 63 years old. That's pretty old to be hitting the job market, even though I had, I've done many great things, so it was not too hard for me to find some kind of work, but as a consultant, because I was a consultant for NBC, a senior consultant for NBC, and then they laid off something like 10,000 people, and I was like one of those 10,000 people, and they did it right at a big conference that I was just going into, so I was really bummed, here I had to be this cheery guy and be happy guy, or just the guy that I am, and give lectures and stuff like that. But the truth is that I just didn't have a job. So I was very, really hurt. So when I got home from that conference, it was a huge astrology conference, a couple thousand astrologers. And I'm, pretty well-known astrologer, or very well-known astrologer, because first astrologer ever to program astrology on computers, that idea. So everyone knows who I am. And I got home and I had no idea what to do, in that I had been brought up as a naturalist. I'm a real skilled naturalist, specializing in herpetology, which specializing in toads and frogs, but most especially salamanders. I became a salamander expert. But the problem with nature is that nature is so raw. Nature is such a great teacher, but it's so direct. Life and death struggle. Every animal struggling to eat something and not be eaten at the same time. So it's not, someone said to me a few years ago, nature's just so peaceful and serene. I said, well, not the same nature that I know. Every single animal's trembling in fear of being eaten, at the same time struggling to find something to eat. So just go out in nature because it's painful. But in that year, in that time, when I got fired and stuff like that, I wasn't fired, I was laid off. I didn't give a shit. So I just went out into nature and I was able to take it all in again like I did when I was a kid. In fact, from the end of May until frost, I was out in the fields every single morning watching the sun come up, crawling on my hands and knees through wet grass, taking photos. First of all, I just was out there, but then I found out if I took a camera along, it made it easier on me to explain it to myself, much less other people. And my family had no idea. I'm sure they would disagree with this, but what's happened to him? What's he doing? He's not even here. He's not looking for a job. He's just out there in the woods and the streams. You see him, people will drive by, and there I am trying to focus with camera and doing this kind of stuff. But in that process, I opened up took in all of the rawness of nature. I was able to fully embrace it again, like I did when I was a kid. I was totally there. And in that process of looking through the lens, I had a very big breakthrough experience where suddenly I was meditating. Because unlike my practicing meditation, which I really didn't like, and there was no joy in, it was like something I felt I had to do, I was joyful. I was joyful about being out in the woods, and I didn't give a shit about anything, because I was just at the end of my rope. But I could look through this lens. I could see these little miniature worlds that were perfect. I'm a macro photographer, close up, very close up. And in that process, and I had been doing some very heavy other kind of Dharma stuff that I'd have to, huge sidebar to get to, but I'm trying to give you the short story, which isn't too short. In that moment, I suddenly could meditate, but I could only meditate when I was looking through the lens of the camera. When I went home, I still couldn't just sit and do it right. But every time I went out, my mind would get clearer and clearer and clearer, and I'd suddenly be doing what's called insight meditation. It's a special kind of meditation. And I was completing the regular shamatha meditation, so I was able to do that. And one of my Dharma friends, a Lama from Tibet, came and recognized what I was doing and pointed out to me, look, this is what you're doing. This is a kind of meditation that isn't mostly written about. It's called, there's the Lama that teaches you, and then there's the Lama of the scriptures, that's the text, but there's also what's called the Lama of appearances, which is the natural world can teach you the Dharma. And you are learning the Lama of appearances, and you're actually doing it.